speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
Indianapolis, the capital of Indiana, located flat smack in the center of the Hoosier Central Flatlands. This is a growing city. In fact, the fastest growing city in the country outside of the Sun Belt. Why, a new skyscraper pops up in the downtown every year here. And the population, well, they're folks who love their sports. In fact, Indianapolis was recently crowned as the amateur sports capital of the country. But to race fans, well, they know it by its older and more grand title, the auto racing capital of the world. Hello, I'm Paul Page. Well, the great Indianapolis 500, of course, is held here. And then the US Nationals, the biggest event in drag racing. The drag racers come here by the masses. It is the largest attended, the largest in terms of field, and the richest in purse. And that sort of thing makes for excitement. And that's exactly what the 33rd edition of the US Nationals is. Exciting. Let's go to the other end now of this historic drag strip. And my colleague, Steve Evans.
Thank you, Paul. I'm headed down to the other end for second round action. And a lot of the enthusiasm you see here is because of the tremendous speeds this record crowd has seen this weekend. Not elapsed time. Speeds that just about blow down the scoreboard. And it all started with pro stock star Bob Glidden. His Thunderbird was clocked at 191 miles per hour. I asked him if those kind of speeds cause any stability problems.
Well, I'll tell you, on this track, Steve, I know our car is absolutely stable. I haven't seen any of the Pro Stock cars really get out of control, so I'd say not. I think in our case, the aero people, the engineers at Ford Motor Company have given us a lot of help in that area, and our car is really stable at 190.
Okay, let's talk about funny car speeds. Defending champ Mike Dunn and Joe Paisano's car was clocked at 278 miles per hour. 278. Only one top fuel dragster has ever gone faster than that. When I talked to Mike, it was pretty obvious he enjoys going fast.
You know, this car's been running fast all year, and when Kenny went 274, you know, we felt we could run 275, 276 if we get her hooked up off the starting line, and 278, that's a little mind-boggling, but, you know, hey, we'll take it.
Okay, we've arrived down here at our announce location at the far end. The still photographers, they're also with us. Everybody waiting for one particular car. Remember I said only one top fuel dragster had ever gone faster than 278? Well, in qualifying, Joe Amato smashed through the 280-mile-per-hour barrier, 282 miles per hour. He didn't even seem concerned with what the elapsed time was, even though it put him on the pole.
I've gone breathless, Stephen. You know me, I never run out of air. Tim Richards put a combination. We made a good run this morning, and he felt confident that the car. So he told me we were going to go for ludicrous speed. That was the word we were talking about for the last hour over in our pit, ludicrous speed.
Just kidding?
No, he's been serious. He was serious. He said it's either going to work real good or real bad. He said it was the most change he's ever made in the motor for one step. But he said, no, we got to try it. And everybody's been talking about all week here is 280, 280. And Indy seems the place to run 280, and they run 280 here at 525 and end up below ET. It doesn't get any better than that, Steve, you know?
Boy, nobody gets quite as pumped up as Joe Amato. And speaking of records, since a year ago here, everyone has been talking about the chance of Big Daddy Don Garlits winning his 4th consecutive top fuel title at the U.S. Nationals. Well, sadly enough, that will not happen. Because 2 weeks ago, Spokane, Washington, Big Daddy's brand new Swamp Rat 31 flipped completely over backwards. Not at the starting line or the middle of the track, but at over 200 miles an hour at the finish line. The car was completely destroyed. Big Daddy has suffered some cracked ribs, and the doctor says he'll be on the sidelines for a while. Now, he would never allow me on his pit crew, so I put him on our announce crew. Meet Don Garlits. And Don, what about these records?
Oh, it's just fabulous, Steve, the way they prepared this track. You know, they ground it from one end to the other because the pavement has been here for a number of years. And it's very smooth, and so the cars don't lose traction, and hence the top speeds, the phenomenal top speeds of all the pro classes. Okay, thank you, Don. And you know, Paul, I can't wait to see the look on the faces of these drivers when they get out to be interviewed, and it's Big Daddy with the mic. Should be a lot of fun.
The entire day should be a lot of fun, Steve Evans. It's a massive crowd that's found their way. Magnificent facility that is Indianapolis Raceway Park. The strip is clean and ready for some fast times and speeds. We're in the quarterfinals, and there is Joe Amato He ran 282 miles an hour, but we should say, Steve Evans, that Gary Ormsby was the fastest qualifier with a 5:25.
He was. Amato ended up number 2. And there is his opponent here in second round action, bouncing to a stop after the burnout. That is Frank Bradley of Napa, California. And they're backing up the fastest top fuel dragster in history. And what a year Joe Amato is having. 2 wins and 5 runner-up finishes. He is the points leader. Here is Frank Bradley, who is in kind of a renaissance situation, has come back from a couple of years of semi-retirement with some tremendous numbers. And Joe Amato knows that he does not have an easy one here. Frank Bradley has qualified very well and beat Jack Ostrander in round number 1.
Now, Joe Amato has had problems this season leaving the line. That is, he's not reading the Christmas tree well and getting a good start, Don Garland.
But at this race, it's been a turnaround for him. He has got the starting line figured out and those lights, too. In fact, some of these races at this race so far have been who left the line first has won.
Well, this race is about to happen. They're off the mark, and indeed it is Joe Amato leaving first. But look at Bradley. Bradley wheel to wheel with the fastest car in the world. Jerry Amato sees the wind light come on in their lane. Joe Amato goes to the semis at 5:37. Bradley just 2 100ths away at a 5:39, but he was a little late right off the starting line.
The crowd here certainly enjoyed that one. Second round top fuel. Joe Amato takes the victory over Frank Bradley. We'll be back with more from the 33rd U.S. Nationals in just a moment.
American Sports Cavalcade, brought to you by Dodge. America's best back trucks are Ram Tough. By Stroh's and Stroh-Lite. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is spoken here. And by Sure Antiperspirant. Now Sure is available in a new Desert Spice scent.
We're back at Indianapolis Raceway Park, the 33rd U.S. Nationals. It is a magnificent day here. Let's go to the far end, Steve Evans.
Well, Joe Amato just had his hands full with Frank Bradley. A 5:37 for you, a 5:39 for him.
It was a close race, Steve. What was the speed?
The speed, well, it wasn't 280, if that's what you want to know. It was about 273, but it looked like it hurt itself before it could get that big mile an hour.
Yeah, it felt like it died a little bit about the 1,000-foot mark, you know. But we're in the second round here. We'd like to get the speed record, but we also like to win the race, and we're in the hunt for the world championship. So, you can't look ahead and try and just go for the speed record. You've got to try and win the race and stay even with LaHaye as far as the points chase goes here.
Indeed. See you in the semifinal round.
Thank you.
So Joe Amato and crew head back to go to work on their machine as he continues his march toward yet another world championship and possibly his first U.S. Nationals title. That brings up in second round Darrell Gwynn as he faces Bill Mullins.
And Darrell Gwynn, Paul, still cannot be counted out as a potential world champion. He's won 2 events this year, has some tremendous horsepower in the longest wheelbase car in all of drag racing. But in qualifying, Darrell had some problems. Watched the car in the near lane. A malfunction somewhere in the engine caused the supercharger to explode violently. A lot of fire, but Darrell was okay.
Fortunately, all of the safety systems worked. As we take a look at it from a back angle, Gwynn's engine let go. Then Steve talked with him at the far end.
Well, as you can see, a tremendous blower explosion here. All the safety straps have done their job. Most of the parts still remain on the engine, except one errant piece somehow punctured the right rear tire. So, Darrell Gwynn, did you have any control problems, or did it maintain pressure till you get it stopped?
No, I don't think it became flat till pretty close around here, around the corner. But an explosion like that, the number one thing is you want to try and get the chute out right away. And that was the main objective, was get the car slowed down, because the run ain't over till you're around here and stopped and out of the car and safe. And that's the main thing I was trying to do, was get around this corner.
Your temperament about things like this has changed considerably in the last couple of years. A blower explosion before just decimated you emotionally.
Well, it did, but now with a little backing from Budweiser and Quaker State, these things...
An attitude adjustment maybe somewhere along the line?
Yeah, and an attitude adjustment from Dale Armstrong. I think this will... things like this happen, and you just got to make the best of them.
So Darrell Gwynn saved himself, saved the car, and now faces this man, Bill Mullins. This is second round action, top fuel eliminator. Bill is out of Pelham, Alabama, and experimenting with a unique combination. It's high gear only in that car, no transmission to shift. Now, earlier in the first round, he met up with this man, Gary Ormsby, Roseville, California, the #1 qualifier. Now here, let's look back at that race. In the far lane was Ormsby, in the near lane was Bill Mullins. Mullins was taking his time staging. You can see Ormsby's front wheels are already positioned and were for some time. He continued to build heat, and that possibly caused him to have too much horsepower. He smoked the tires. What an upset in round #1. Don talked with him.
One of the problems of having the fastest and quickest car at the event is you have so much horsepower, sometimes hard to deal with on that first round, isn't it?
It's real hard, and it's right on the edge, as you well know, and it's a fine line there between getting down that racetrack and smoking the tires.
We'd like to congratulate you on being the #1 qualifier and wish you the best at the next race.
Okay, thanks, Don.
So that action set up this confrontation between Mullins in the far lane and Gwen in the near lane. Don Garlits, what do you think?
Well, I think that Darrell Gwynn is really thinking about trying to get this national event under his belt. He needs this win and those bonus points to contest this World Championship.
They both come off the line even. Gwen rips over toward that center line. And coming to the finish, it is Darrell Gwynn with a 5:30.275 to a losing 5:57.262 for Bill Mullins. And that brings up Shirley Muldowney. She will face Michael Brotherton. And Shirley has lane choice. She's chosen the far lane. Now, she got that choice by the previous round elimination. The driver that turns the quickest time in the previous round will get the lane choice. Let's go to the far end. Steve is with Darrell Gwynn.
Well, that was Darrell Gwynn's best performance of the entire weekend, a 5:30, but you had to drive it. It got loose in the middle, moved around.
Yeah, it did. Actually, today, this car is an animal. We've been trying to find the power all weekend long, and thanks to all the hard work and crew last night, we worked our tails off to about 2 o'clock in the morning here. We heard a motor here late yesterday, and boy, the car's really coming around. Just hope we got lane choice for next round.
So Shirley Muldowney is ready now to face Michael Brotherton. Shirley ran the best run of her career, a 5:28 in round #1.
She also qualified with a 5:28. The three-time world champion has a lot of confidence today. But first, she has to get by this man, and he gets tougher with every race. A first-year rookie, Michael Brotherton out of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Brotherton beat Gene Snow to get to this round of eliminations. Don Garlits, here's a rookie in the biggest drag race in the world. It's got to be tremendous pressure.
Oh, it is, Paul. Tremendous pressure on the driver and the crew. You just wonder how they make the right decisions to keep that thing in one piece.
And, of course, he's facing a tremendous name on the far side, Shirley Muldowney. As they come off the line, Muldowney gets ahead, coming away from the starting line, and continues the lead all the way to the finish. Shirley Muldowney with a 5:42.77 to Michael Brotherton's losing 5:55.266. And a bit of fire at the back of Brotherton's car.
Nothing to be concerned with, Paul. A minor oil fire. It has extinguished itself, and I'll try to get a word with Shirley as soon as she's out of the car.
Back at the starting line, second round action continues. Kim LaHaye, crew chief for her father, Dick LaHaye, is working on the engine there, and this does not appear to be normal, Don Garlits.
They're having a little bit of a problem there with a starter. That's a starter wire they're trying to put together. They're holding it together with their bare hands to get that engine started.
So some quick thinking and brave moves by both Kim and Jeff LaHaye in this family affair that is the LaHaye team. In second round, Dick LaHaye will face Eddie Hill, World Championship boat racer. He's still looking for his first nationals title, and he would love to have it happen here at the most prestigious event in drag racing, the U.S. Nationals. And Dick LaHaye, of course, is locked in battle with Joe Amato, fighting for the World Championship. Let's go to the far end and Steve.
Well, I'm standing with a lady who just recorded a career best top speed at 277 miles per hour.
It's fast. Would have liked a little better ET.
540.
Well, it shook on me out there, but it's clean and nice, and we know what to do.
You can go back to that 528 from the first round?
Yeah, we get to, yeah, 28, and that may, I think 2 more 28s might do it. Get to race my friend Joe.
That's right, Shirley Muldowney and Joe Amato side by side.
And that will make for one terrific matchup. Ursie Hill helps her husband Eddie back his machine into place at the starting line, putting those rear wheels in just the right position for a launch. Eddie Hill, motorcycle dealer out of Wichita Falls, Texas. He faces Dick LaHaye, the quickest man in the sport with a 5:17 earlier in the season and 3 Nationals victories so far this year. So it's LaHaye on the near side. On the far side is the Texan Eddie Hill as the Texan inches up through the staging lights and is ready for his run against Dick LaHaye. LaHaye watches very carefully from the near side.
And, Paul, every time you see Dick LaHaye, he's wearing a big smile because he is enjoying his greatest ever season in drag racing. LaHaye near lane, Eddie Hill far lane. The staging is complete. Green lights flash, and they're away right together. No man had an advantage off the mark, but it is Dick LaHaye by a clean car length.
5.30, 267 miles per hour. Eddie Hill at 540. And that sets up maybe the greatest semifinals ever. It will be Dick LaHaye gunning for that world championship up against Darrell Gwynn. Lane choice to Gwynn, and that could be important. And Shirley Muldowney, she could be the spoiler in this whole thing. If she meets Joe Amato, Amato will be able to pick his lane. Now, Amato had a little engine trouble in this round, and there's his crew back in the pit area. They're checking the bearings on the bottom there, and there's Tim Richards, the famed crew chief, reassembling the engine, putting the supercharger manifold back on it. So apparently, they have fixed whatever was wrong inside. We'll be back with more drag racing from the U.S. Nationals. We're back at Indianapolis Raceway Park, where the crew is putting the finishing touches on Shirley Muldowney's pink dragster for the Top Fuel semifinals. I'm Steve Evans, along with Paul Page and Big Daddy Don Garlits. And Paul, we are ready for the second round of funny car competition. And what a pair it is. The defending champion, Mike Dunn from California, who earlier recorded that 278-mile-per-hour track record. He needs to run within 1% of that today to back it up for an official national record. And he's up against, well, what can you say? Don the Snake Prudhomme has won here 6 times, 3 in Top Fuel, 3 in funny car. He took last season off, but has come back with a vengeance already this year, having won the Motorcraft Gator Nationals down in Florida. And Mike Dunn, of course, with the roof hatch up to let whatever fresh air he can get into that cockpit. Now, Mike Dunn, who won here a year ago, he's a machinist by trade. His car owner elects to run the car only a few times a year. Don the Snake Prudhomme, well, he's in the full pull, running all 14 NHRA national events, and hopes to get one more win before this season is over.
And Don Garlits, earlier in the day, you spent some time with Prudhomme helping him out, really.
Yeah, the Snake has been having a lot of trouble getting off the line here. He's constantly been spinning the tires. In fact, he qualified 16th at this event. Very unusual for the Snake.
Well, he's made it to the second round, Don. What kind of things did you tell him?
Well, I told him, you know, we're running tremendous high gears in these cars today, which is evidenced by the high speeds that these cars have been turning. And Snake put a couple of those high gears in his car, and it's helped him considerably.
Is he going to give you a piece of the action when it's over?
Well, I sure hope so. I hope he does well. You know, the Snake and I have been friends for a number of years.
Well, the Snake, we see here, has been having problems smoking the tires. Not so Mike Dunn. In fact, his car runs slower off the starting line than just about any other. And they're away. Don Prudhomme loses traction. A little smoke out of Mike Dunn's car, but look at Dunn run on the other end. Mike Dunn goes to the semis, but a rather slow lap time. A 5.97, 261 miles per hour. He got a big break when Don Prudhomme smoked the tires.
Now watch Prudhomme on the far side. Immediately, as he comes off the line, those tires begin to spin. Then the telltale blue smoke that says traction is gone. Mike Dunn roars on to a victory and into the semifinals.
Well, anytime the world's fastest funny car driver, Mike Dunn, slows down into the 260-mile-an-hour range, something went wrong. What, Mike?
Oh, it got a little loose out there. I don't know if the track's going away. It was so soft the first run, we decided to step on it a little bit the second run, and it got a little loose out there, so I didn't drive. You know, I don't drive out the back door if it spins a tire. We don't care about mile an hour then.
So the smoke we saw was not from the engine, but from the tires.
Yeah, and out in the middle, just it started spinning the tires, and I locked the clutch up, and she started spinning pretty good, so we'll have to make an adjustment for that for next round.
My final's coming out.
Thank you.
So as he goes to semifinals, Mike Dunn will have to find a better balance between clutch and engine to keep those tires from spinning. We continue with action now. Second round, and there is the king, Kenny Bernstein.
And what a season this man has enjoyed. He has won 6 NHRA National Championship events, has a huge lead for the World Championship. In fact, only needs one more win to tie Don Prudhomme for the all-time record of the most wins in one season at 7. The U.S. Nationals pays more points than any other race, so Kenny Bernstein of Newport Beach, California, could virtually clinch his 3rd World Championship. Out to stop him, well, that's Ed the Ace McCullough. Him in California, he's won the U.S. Nationals 3 times, the first back in 1971. While shaking his head is the famed crew chief for Kenny Bernstein, Dale Armstrong. He's been doing that a lot this weekend. It has not gone flawlessly for that car. In fact, they do not have quick time at this event. That honor goes to Mark Oswald in round number 1. He defeated Jim Head with a 5.46. So Bernstein, well, he's not backed into a quarter, but he's not dominant either. Off the mark together, Ed McCullough with the wheels in the air. And McCullough's engine blows. Kenny Bernstein wins it with a very nice 5.56, 265 miles per hour. Big problems for Ed the Ace McCullough and the racetrack. When that engine let go, it dumped 14 quarts of 70-weight oil in the far lane.
So we've got a massive cleanup, Don Garlits, and some concern.
You bet. And the NHRA, as good as they do it, it's the best in the business. It still is concerning for the driver because they've got to drive down this track where all this oil has been deposited. And I'll tell you, it puts a lot of pressure on you.
We look at this run again. Bernstein on the near side, Ed McCulloch on the far side. You see the tires spun a little bit. He then pulled back on the throttle. When he did that, the engine leaned out and the engine let go. So the fire lights up, very quickly extinguished by the onboard fire system. No problems personally for him. He is safe as you see him there taking his fire suit off, but obviously they've got a lot of work to do to get the engine back in shape. Let's go to the far end and Don.
Tell me, does that 546, do you concern yourself with that, or you just go on your own deal and kind of tunnel vision and don't look at the other competitors?
Well, I wish you could tunnel vision it, but it's awful hard to not think about a 546 by your competitors. But we started to work on it this round to maybe step it up a little bit and go after it a little harder so that if we get fortunate enough to make it to the finals and Mark gets there, then we'll be ready for him. We can't wait till the finals and step on it. You know that. It'll be over with.
You've done a real good job today with getting this car nailed down in the center. That was what was plaguing you before, keeping that drive shaft speed down. Dale is evidently getting that worked on.
Absolutely. The starting line's great. It leaves good there. In fact, we're soft on the starting line. We needed more. But like you said, in the middle of the racetrack, 150, 200 off the line, it was tough to get it hooked up. But maybe now we got it going. Dale's certainly working at it.
Well, we wish you the best, Kenny.
Great. Thank you.
Well, Kenny is always giving Dale Armstrong all the credit. Armstrong will tell you that Kenny's driving this year has been a big part of their success. And here in the pit area, talking about success, there's Kim LaHaye, who has wrenched her father's Top Fuel dragster to 3 wins this year, and she hopes for her first ever U.S. Nationals. We'll be back.
We're back at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The U.S. Nationals, the 33rd edition. Over 125,000 people have been out to Raceway Park over the week-long of activities, and this is the final day. This determines the champions. In funny car, John Force now is set to take on Mark Oswald.
And this has been John Force's greatest year out of a dozen seasons he's been competing. And a lot of that credit, he'll tell you, has to go to Austin Coyle, his crew chief, the man who formerly ran the famed Chi-Town Hustler car. The body being latched down on Mark Oswald's machine, that is a fiberglass replica of a Ford Thunderbird. Let's remember now, Oswald is the quickest car here at the U.S. Nationals in the funny car category with that 5.46. Leonard Hughes, the crew chief on this machine. Oswald now glides out of the water and squeezes into that throttle. They do the burnout in high gear, then he'll back up and has to remember to put it back into low gear. Now, this is a rematch of the final round of yesterday's Big Bud Shootout. It featured Mark Oswald up against John Force. 8 cars started in that particular competition when it got down to the final 2. In fact, let's go back to yesterday and take a look at that final round. In the near lane, as he will be today, was Mark Oswald. In the far lane is John Force. Now, Oswald was off the mark first. Oswald, when hooked up, appeared to have it in hand until he lost traction. A water line broke, put some water under the rear tires. John Force collected $50,000 for 5 seconds work, his biggest payday ever. I talked to him.
You were beaten in the final last year. Everybody knew how badly you wanted, and you've done it, John. You've done it for your crew, for yourself.
My sponsors, my crew, my wife. Austin Coyle, baddest person I know. And all them people up there, I love all of you.
And they love you.
Got no words here, man.
I understand. John Force has been waiting so long for this. An earlier national event win in Montreal, Canada was not televised. Many of his fans were unable to see it. And here is the crew for John Force.
Great.
The biggest payday in this man's professional drag racing career, which started on the drag strips of Australia and New Zealand. It was the only place he could get paid to race. No longer.
But now, 24 hours later, this is the rematch, and it's for the title of U.S. Nationals Funny Car Eliminator. Now, Don Garlitz, John Force has an extra challenge. That is the lane that was oiled so badly earlier.
Yes, he does, and it was a massive oil down, as Steve quoted, 14 quarts. And now John has got to be thinking about that. He makes a good run through it, no smoke off the tires, but Mark Oswald moves ahead.
Reverse of yesterday as Oswald comes through with a 555, 260 miles an hour to Force's losing 568, 258 miles an hour. So Mark Oswald reverses the situation of the Big Bud Shootout and moves ahead in funny car eliminations. Here is Eric Reed in the far lane as he is ready to take on Johnny West. Now, this is one of those classic confrontations between a brand-new driver in Eric Reed and a longtime veteran in Johnny West. Down at the far end now, Steve is with Mark Oswald.
Right now, Mark Oswald is far more concerned with win lights than he is the times it takes to get them. But that was a 5:55.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with that. You know, the heat of the day, it's hard to run like that. That deal this morning, you know, was just an excellent run. Everything worked right. We're just happy to stay consistent, try to put the Thunderbird in the winner's circle.
It's got a little hotter, a little more humid. That doesn't hurt. Doesn't help, brother.
No, it doesn't. You know, we're happy with that. You know, we're keeping pace with Kenny and everybody like that, so things are looking good if we can keep things from falling off of it.
See you in a little while.
Thank you.
Okay, right now, Don Garlitz is with John Force.
Well, that's kind of a heartbreaking way to go, but I think you made one heck of a run through that lane.
Yeah, she was slick, and Cole made a few changes up there, and it showed. We were happy that the performance come back, and the car came back and ran 60s again, and we were content with that.
You bet a 568 with a massive oil down that was speaks highly of your driving, John, and the NHRA's cleanup crew.
It was slick, and as far as, you know, we got down there, but going on to win this race, you know, there was big money here, but we got it yesterday, and maybe Oswald, he's a heck of a competitor to that team, and maybe he'll get it today, and don't matter, my bank wouldn't have taken that much money anyway.
Well, if his bank won't, mine will. I'll be happy to take it for him. And once again, as we look at Johnny West on the line, we're looking at the combination of years of experience versus youth and enthusiasm.
It's been a tough year for Johnny West from Chandler, Arizona. He's made 2 final rounds only to lose them both. Now, for Eric Reed, it's been a very exciting year. He went to Frank Hawley's drag racing school, started his career. He's already got 1 win light. His first one ever came here this weekend, but what a perfect place to get it, Don Garlitz.
You bet. Imagine that. His first time out, and he beats Billy Meyer, one of the veterans of drag racing. He's got to be excited right about now. Hope it's not too exciting.
What do you mean?
Well, he's got to leave perfect on time, not red light, not be late, not spin the tires through that oil, not step on it too hard. I mean, he's got a lot on his mind, and he's thinking about that earlier win.
And he does a good job until he loses traction. The car almost gets into the wall. Eric Reed manages to maintain control. Roland Leon, passive as ever, watches Johnny West, his driver, take the win at a 575, 255 miles per hour. And that will set the funny car semifinal pairing. With lane choice, it will be Kenny Bernstein when he faces Johnny West. Also with lane choice will be Mark Oswald. Oswald will be up against Mike Dunn, the defending U.S. Nationals champion in the funny car semifinal.
So with the funny car semis set, we continue with action at the 33rd U.S. Nationals. Round number 2 of Pro Stock. Darrell Alderman ready to take on Kenny Delco.
The Pro Stock car is often called the factory hot rods because rules require them to maintain a stock body shape. But they're very sophisticated 500 cubic inch engines, 2 4-barrel carburetors, minimum weight of 2,350 pounds. And here is a driver that's getting everybody's attention, Darrell Alderman from Fairfield, Illinois. He has been cutting some beautiful lights, and he'll need one when he faces Kenny Delco. Delco from Center Reach, New York.
And you know, the entire Pro Stock field will qualify within a 1/10 of a second, so the entire race is based upon reaction times. You've got to have a good one in this class.
RPM's up to about 8,000 and they're off the mark. This is a beautiful race. Darrell Alderman in the far lane, Kenny Delco in the near lane. It is Alderman. Darrell Alderman, 7:59, and he beats a quicker 7:57 by Kenny Delco. That is the classic example of what the fans and the drivers call the hole shot, Paul.
Watch the far lane. Alderman moves even before Delco has even thought about it. And it is that move alone that carries him all the way to the end of the quarter mile in the lead. The hole shot definitely making the difference here. As we look to mid-strip now, you can see Alderman still has the lead by a nose. Delco is closing, but the hole shot gains the win to Darrell Alderman.
And there you can see the comparison of time. And it's all possible because the clock starts when the front wheels move, not when the light turns straight. Well, here is the pit area of Mike Dunn, the defending championship crew, hoping to take their driver to back-to-back U.S. Nationals titles. Well, they'll meet the quickest of them all, though, in the semis, Mark Oswald. We'll be back to the NHRA US Nationals.
We're back at the NHRA US Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park. I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans and Don Garlitz, and the crowd is loving the action here. But back in the hot pits, it's all work for Johnny West's crew as they prepare his funny car to meet Kenny Bernstein's in the semifinal round. They have plenty of work ahead of them. In the meantime, Out on the drag strip itself, we are in second round action of Pro Stock.
And we'll be seeing Warren Johnson in his Oldsmobile up against this man, Joe Clark from Virginia. Now, Johnson started the year with a big victory at the Winter Nationals. Ever since then, though, they have continued to beat up on the man, including Bob Glidden taking away his speed record here at the U.S. Nationals. Now, Joe Clark, his Camaro was about a tenth of a second slower in round number 1 action than was Warren Johnson. So Clark better be good off the starting line. Warren Johnson, well, this is a relatively new car. He's got to be pleased so far, though, with its performance. Here is W.J. Duluth, Georgia, a graduate engineer, a man who designs and builds his own cars and engines. There you can see that tachometer needle. Right now, it's at about 1,100. It will zoom to about 8,500 RPM, Don Garlitz.
These cars have to leave at full throttle because they're not supercharged. They're normally aspirated engines.
And there's a red light for Joe Clark. By that, we mean a foul start. He is automatically disqualified. He left too soon. There's 0.4 of a second between that last yellow light on the tree and the green. If you try to over-anticipate, as Clark did, wanting a hole shot, and that front wheel moves out of the beam before the green light circuit is complete, it'll move right to red, and you see it there in the far lane.
And of course, at the same time, Warren Johnson reacted and came off the line very early as well. So with Warren Johnson moving ahead to the semis in Pro Stock, here is Butch Leal. He will face Jerry Ekman.
And it is Butch Leal who is trying to prevent Bob Glidden from winning his 8th Pro Stock World Championship. In fact, until a couple of races ago, Butch Leal had the points lead until Glidden suddenly got that Ford Thunderbird back on track. And I'll tell you, Jerry Ekman, Paul Page, what a season he's had. He broke that long down spell for Chevrolet by winning the Summer Nationals, the first time Chevy had won in over a year. And it was Jerry Ekman of Ventura, California, who accomplished that. A fine driver in a very fast Chevrolet Camaro.
He will face Butch Leal, who has already scored 3 race victories so far this year. Don Garlitz, Pro Stock takes a lot of time staging.
That's correct, because they have to leave at such full throttle position. The engines are up high, and the guy that goes in first is at somewhat of a disadvantage because it's heating up his clutch, it's over revving the engine. They want to stage last for the best advantage.
Well, this one is over really before it began. Jerry Ekman in the far lane, he did not win it. As it appeared, he left a red light in his wake. Another foul start. But Butch Leal outran him anyway, a 7.57 to a 760. So Jerry Ekman just rolled the dice and came up snake eyes.
Watch the Christmas tree in the car on the left side of the screen. The red light shows that Ekman moved first. Already, Butch Leal has won. Let's go to the far end. Steve Evans.
Butch Leal climbing out of his Pontiac Trans Am. And Butch, did you see the red light from the competition?
Red light, and my car rolled, and I put the clutch back in, the light changed. I didn't see Jerry red light at all. I thought, I'm dead in the water here. Here I am dead in the water. I thought he caught me.
Well, you're alive and well with a 757.
Yeah, it was a decent run. I didn't realize he red lighted. I didn't see it. I looked down at mine. I said I had to be super late.
This is Jerry Ekman. Did you know you red lighted?
No, I didn't. I saw the color and moved. I must have caught a real close one.
You must have, but it caught you, actually, as it turns out.
Apparently. I saw it and moved. I thought I got a winner here. And
let me tell you, this guy here has been running good all year long. He won Englishtown, and I'm very proud of him because he's from California, and, you know, I am too, and they've done a great job, and hopefully they'll be with Pontiac next year.
Well, the man in the blue suit moves on to the semis.
And the mark of a pro, he wasn't distracted by what was going on the other side of the race course. Back at the starting line, it is Bob Glidden on the near side, looking for an unprecedented 8th U.S. Nationals title, and he faces Ken Koretsky.
Kenny Koretsky, Paul, is in his first year of Pro Stock racing. That is the former Rear and Morrison Camaro, so we know he's got very strong wheels, also a Rear and Morrison motor. But Kenny has taken to driving these machines like a duck to water. They're maybe the most difficult car of them all in drag racing to drive. They're 4-speed transmissions. You've got to do everything right. They leave very, very hard, set the driver back in the seat, just kind of roll his eyes back up. But you know, Bob Glidden has already had a tremendous weekend, because 2 days ago, in the final of the Mr. Gasket Pro Stock Challenge, it was this man from Whiteland, Indiana, Bob Glidden, and his Ford Thunderbird up against, from Arlington, Texas, Bruce Allen in the Chevrolet Beretta. Did the fans love this one, Paul? It was Ford and Chevy side by side, the winner to receive $25,000. Now, Bruce Allen was looking for his 3rd consecutive victory in this competition. It was Allen in the near lane, the Thunderbird of Glidden in the far lane. Allen was the last to stage, and that might have been an advantage. He was off the mark first. A sizable hole shot for the Chevrolet in the near lane, but look at the power of Bob Glidden. This was 2 days ago. Glidden won it at 745, 188 miles per hour to Allen 764.
Well, the dominance of Bruce Allen and Chevrolet in the Mr. Gasket Pro Stock Challenge has come to an end at the hands of this man, Bob Glidden, in his Ford Thunderbird, a 745, but he gave you fits off the starting line again.
It was he might have left on me a little, but I think he must have had a little track trouble. We broke about 1,100 foot, I think.
You broke something?
Yes, and well, I think we won the race, so.
You did indeed, I can guarantee you that. But was there a moment there when you had your doubts?
Well, it's hard to say. You know, I let the clutch out, and out of the corner of my eye, it seemed like Bruce was ahead, but by the second gear change, you know, his car faltered, you know. I'm sure we changed lanes because we thought the right lane might have a little problem 100 foot out, so. Apparently, we made the right choice for a change.
And you know how much money you've just won?
Absolutely, 25,000 big ones, and thanks to Joe Rutke and the people at the Performance Group, and by gosh, we're glad, we're happy, we appreciate it.
And we're happy for you.
Thanks, Joe.
Bob Glidden, he won it.
And whatever Glidden broke then has certainly been repaired by now, and Glidden is as powerful as ever. Now he faces the challenge of Kenny Koretsky. Koretsky got to the second round of Pro Stock by beating Nick Nicolas. Now, though, he has to take on one of the toughest in the sport. Without question, the toughest in the sport.
And as Don Garlits pointed out earlier with Eric Reed, the funny car rookie, all the pressure really is on the man in the far lane. And Kenny Koretsky showing his inexperience. He was asleep at the switch. Bob Glidden with a monstrous hole shot. And Glidden has an easy one here to go to the semis. Rusty, his son, likes it. A 747 defeats a 755. But with Koretsky being as late as he was, it looked worse than it should have been. So here's the semifinal round pairings. It will be the Ford of Glidden up against the Trans Am of Butch Leal. Glidden will have the lane choice. The other half of the semis, the Olds of Warren Johnson against the Chevrolet of Darrell Alderman, and Johnson there has the lane choice.
So second round completed in all categories. Now we wait for the semifinals. And back in the hot pits, Kenny Bernstein's crew working on his machine. He will meet Johnny West in the semis. And up just behind the starting line, Shirley Muldowney puts on her equipment, ready to face Joe Amato in the semifinal round of Top Fuel at the 33rd U.S. Nationals from Raceway Park. It's a beautiful, warm, and sultry Hoosier day at Indianapolis Raceway Park for the 33rd U.S. Nationals. Paul Page along with Steve Evans and Don Garlits. We're ready now for the semifinal rounds in Top Fuel. And there is Shirley Muldowney, ready to face Joe Amato, Don.
This is the very best performance that I've seen out of Shirley in a number of years. That 528 earlier is really impressive.
You know, Don, when you scored your first U.S. Nationals title back in '64, you're talking 1,200 or so horsepower. Now we're talking 3,000 plus horsepower. A lot of stress on the powertrain.
Back at the first U.S. Nationals in '55, the dragsters all used early model Ford junkyard rear ends that they narrowed up at home. Investment, probably about $30. As the horsepower grew, they went to what's called a 9-inch Ford, and here's one of those housings already narrowed. And you know what? These are still plenty adequate in any of the gasoline-burning classes. But when it comes to the nitro cars, 3,000 horsepower, only a special-made custom unit will do. And this is the one from Strange Engineering. We have set the inspection cover aside so you can see that it is on the top of the housing for easy maintenance, and it's easy to change that ring gear in there for whatever ratio you want. Now in there, you don't see spider gears or limited slip or posit traction. You don't need it. These are straight line cars. What you will find is a live axle running through the unit. The axle is a billet chromoly steel, and it's all one piece, splined where it runs through the ring gear. Now over here under the inspection cover, you can see where the drive shaft connects to the pinion. It's very low in the car to keep the weight low in the automobile. Now these are expensive. $3,750 without the brakes, but you only buy one. They're so durable. Ask Don Garlits. He had the same rear end in both his Top Fuel dragsters that crashed at high speed. They are truly bulletproof.
Don, I assume that you still believe in them.
I certainly do. The one that was in the crash at Spokane is still alive and well.
Now we're taking a look, Don Garlits, at a run between Shirley Muldowney and Joe Amato. Shirley's not really in the points fight for the World Championship, but Gwen, LaHaye, and Amato all are. She could be a spoiler.
That's right, and she certainly has the ET to back it up. She could win this race easily, and Joe Amato knows this.
there's really less pressure on Shirley Muldowney in this situation than there is Joe for those very reasons you guys just explained. Now, Amato has already turned on the pre-stage. Shirley Muldowney instantly moves up. She doesn't want to hold anybody up here. As we've said before, if you sit there too long, you can build more power than either of you need. Shirley Muldowney, she has run quicker at 5:28 than Amato. It is Amato away first. Shirley Muldowney, Joe Amato, what a great drag race on the big end. It is the muscle of Amato. Jerry Amato celebrating Joe's 5:32. Shirley Muldowney close at 5:40. So Joe Amato goes into his second NHRA US Nationals final round. He was beaten in 1984 by Gary Beck. Who will he race? Will it be Darrell Gwynn? Here with a powerful, thundering burnout. Darrell Gwynn very intent on getting those tires good and hot and laying down some rubber on the track. Or will Joe Amato race Dick LaHaye, the man he is battling for the World Championship? Well, really both of these guys, but LaHaye is closer in the points.
So while on one hand there is the U.S. Nationals title here on the line, it's also definitely a battle for the World Championship. Now let's go down to the far end. Don Garlits is with Joe Amato.
Well, real fine 5:32, Joe, 2:77. You're in the finals.
Well, that's all we started to do. You know, the speed, we'd like to get to 280, but we're kind of concentrating on the World Championship right now, Don, and winning the race here. And it's going to be interesting. I wished, you know, we're both kind of tough race here up there. I hope the LaHaye could get knocked out by Darrell, but it's going to be real close. So that's really what I want to hear.
Well, I think that 5:32, that's going to be good. You know, the cars get tired toward the end of the day, and it's hot out here this afternoon, so that's a very respectable time. You could very well have lane choice.
Well, the both of them ran a 30 in the heat a little while ago, and it's starting to cool off a little bit, but Timmy, we burned the piston in the last run, so we had to do a little bit of adjusting on the fuel system, but they did a good job. And what did Shirley run?
Shirley ran 5:40.
5:40, yeah. I knew she was going to be right there, so we just trying to step it up a little bit. We're just trying to be consistent and get to the final here. This is the U.S. Nationals.
You bet. Good luck, Joe.
Amato is still talking about the speed, because if he can back up that 282, it's worth 200 bonus points towards our World Championship. In the background, you can see Kim LaHaye looking over that car, making sure there's no leaks, anything wrong. And Don Garlits, look at LaHaye. He's getting psyched up.
You bet he is. He wants to beat that kid because he's got to hold him back. We got bonus points here at Indianapolis.
That's right. It pays more than any other race. A good job here can go a long ways. Don, put yourself in LaHaye's position. How would you have approached this race?
Just exactly the way he's doing it. I would want to beat Darrell. But, you know, Darrell is not going to be psyched out. He's a very seasoned top fuel driver now.
That's right. There were a few times a few years ago when you beat him, in fact, including right here at the U.S. Nationals, and maybe you could psych him a bit then.
Yeah, I would just beat him at the line. It was experience was doing the job. Darrell is very experienced now. You got to outrun him.
And look at this race. It is LaHaye. He does outrun Darrell Gwynn. It will be Dick LaHaye and Joe Amato in the final. Wow, was this close? A 5:33 to a 5:39.
One terrific race, though. Very, very close all the way down the strip. We take a look at it again, Don Garlits.
Yes, as you can see, the reaction times are almost identical as both cars leave the line, just like they're tied together. But LaHaye's horsepower begins to pay off. And notice Darrell Gwynn moves over toward the center line just a little bit, gets out of the groove, and it cost him the race.
So Dick LaHaye goes on to the win with a 5:33, and he will face Joe Amato in the final rounds. Amato, with his 5:32, will have the lane choice.
Dick LaHaye has made his first ever U.S. Nationals final round, preventing Darrell Gwynn from being in his third final. A 5:33, you've lost lane choice.
Well, we run 33 over there. Joe likes that lane. He'll probably go over there. I'm tickled to death to be put back in the left lane, which we'll wait and see what he does.
You know, it's the U.S. Nationals when you see competition this keen. That was a horse race, and it's a pick 'em final, really.
Oh, it certainly is. It's just, we'll go up there and race and hope for the best.
See you there.
Thanks, Steve.
And just another example of how important this event is to the drivers. The semifinal rounds and funny cars coming up at the U.S. Nationals.
Well, if it's horsepower you like, you've come to the right place. Indianapolis Raceway Park, the NHRA US Nationals. We're in the semifinal round of funny car competition. It will be Kenny Bernstein up against Johnny West. And Don Garlits, did you ever consider campaigning one of these cars instead of a fuel dragster?
No, I never did. I've always liked the open cars, you know, where you can see the wheels and everything. I never liked it when they pulled that body down.
A little claustrophobic?
I think so, and that also it's real fumey in there, and you get the feeling that maybe it could all just burst into flames at any time. Of course, it never does.
Oh, no, I've never seen one of these burned to the ground. You know, Don, the funny car racers will tell you that they run their engines harder than you guys do on Top Fuel. Is that true?
Not always. There are instances where they run them harder, but you can see by like that Darrell Gwynn's fire earlier, we run the cars pretty hard in Top Fuel.
Of course, the funny car is carrying a couple of 100 pounds more weight. They don't have the engine in the rear of the car for more traction. It takes a different approach. It's a totally different approach, and the tuner is a different deal. Some of the things work in Top Fuel. Some of Armstrong's tricks have worked on Darrell Gwynn's car, but basically, it's a different approach.
Don, how much of a psychological advantage does Bernstein have in this matchup?
It's a tremendous psychological advantage because Johnny West, on an even start here with Bernstein, cannot outrun him. The statistics will back me up on that. So he's got to get him out of the gate, or Bernstein's got to do something wrong. And so that's really tough on him.
So all the pressure with the man in the far lane, Johnny West, as he faces Kenny Bernstein. And West comes off the line first. West actually leaves ahead of Bernstein. They're running even halfway, but Kenny Bernstein pours on the power in the end, and Johnny West looked great, but still it was Kenny Bernstein with a 5:54.271.
That's right. Johnny West fired his best shot. Good reaction time, good ET, but it just didn't come up to that massive horsepower. Watch closely here in this replay. You can see West is out front very decisively. Then here comes that Armstrong power. He's coming on down, and he powers right on by him.
So Kenny Bernstein takes the win and moves into the final round by beating Johnny West.
Well, Kenny Bernstein will make a final round appearance due to a 5:54 elapsed time. Smooth, clean, beautiful.
Smooth on the outside and clean, but shook real hard on the inside, Steve. It lost some time in the tire shake, but we had to step on it to see if we can get it to go. Oswald's still out there ahead of us.
Would you expect to meet Oswald in the final the way things are going?
Well, you never know. It's a tough day at the U.S. Nationals. To get here is an honor to begin with. But you know, the two cars have been going hard all weekend since Thursday. They've been there.
And they've been beating up on you. They're trying to take all your records away from you. Mike Dunn got speed. Oswald's trying to get ET. You'll be lucky to have your name in National Dragster if you don't win this.
I agree with you, but all we care about is winning the U.S. Nationals and the Winston World Championship for the third time.
Okay.
So for Kenny Bernstein, one very important day. And in the finals, he will face one of two men, either Mark Oswald or Mike Dunn. Don Garlits, both of whom have very impressive records here.
Yes, they do. The 5:46 for Mark Oswald is just an unbelievable ET, and of course the 278 miles an hour for Mike Dunn is just practically unbelievable.
Well, you've got the fastest car meeting the quickest car. And, Don, I want to put you on the spot. Who do you pick of these pair to race Kenny Bernstein?
Well, I think it's going to be Mark Oswald because the only problem they had in the Big Bud shootout was a water line came loose. They have fixed that, and they have just been model consistency all day long. And I don't think that they're going to shake Oswald up.
Okay, you heard it from Big Daddy. He picks the red car in the near lane, the Thunderbird bodied machine of Candies and Hughes, driven by Mark Oswald. In the far lane, sitting there calm, cool, and collected, it would appear, was Mike Dunn. A very smooth staging process. Oswald has lost traction. The car turns sideways. He's off the throttle. Mike Dunn wins it. Again, over 270 miles per hour. And as Don Garlits pointed out earlier with Gary Ormsby, sometimes when you're the quickest car, you're also right on the edge of having just that happen. Not enough racetrack for the kind of power you're building. So Mike Dunn moves into the finals against Kenny Bernstein with a 5:63.
Well, Oswald did a terrific job of gathering the car under him after coming off the line. He moved first, and then almost immediately the tires lost their traction. Now, Dunn lost traction as well, and then Oswald's car pitched sideways, and he had to drive it away from the barrier. So in the final round, it will be Kenny Bernstein facing Mike Dunn, and Bernstein will have the lane choice as he looks for a third world championship.
Well, for the second year in a row, young Mike Dunn is in the final with a fine 5:72.
Well, I like this race. This race has been pretty good to me the last couple of years. We softened her up a little bit for that run, and it got down through there, but we're going to have to step her up a little bit for the final for the Bud King.
Yeah, did you know that Oswald had smoked the tires?
I figured he probably did because he was out there a little bit off the start, and then he disappeared, so I thought he might have, spun the tires or something happened to him.
Well, I know you got a lot of work to do, so congratulations once again, Mike.
Thank you, Don.
And Mike Dunn knows if he's to have any chance against Kenny Bernstein, that crew has got to make that car leave the starting line just a bit harder. And for Kim LaHaye back in the pit area, I believe she's thinking, if I can just make my dad's car do exactly what it did the round before, we can beat Joe Amato. Stay with us at the NHRA US Nationals.
Third NHRA US Nationals. We're ready for the semifinal round in Pro Stock. I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans and Don Garlitz. And Don, as we watch Joe Amato's crew get ready for the finals, what are they thinking? What are they doing?
Well, they're all just being real cool. Tim Richards is putting on some parts. This team is, they're a very relaxed group. You don't see very much excitement over there. Each one is very meticulous in his work, though.
Well, we're about to see some excitement as here comes the semifinals of Pro Stock, and this will be an Oldsmobile versus Chevrolet Camaro affair. And there is the Camaro of Darrell Alderman. Now, he is in the far lane. Warren Johnson put him there. Warren Johnson had lane choice based on the ETs in the previous round. He has taken the near lane with his Oldsmobile Forenza. And Don, even though Darrell Alderman knows that Warren Johnson has the quicker car, Johnson knows that Alderman has just been knocking that tree down with hole shots throughout this event. That's how he got here.
That's exactly right. The question here is going to be who gets off the line first. These cars are very evenly matched.
Now, you mentioned before that sometimes with the Pro Stock, because of the way you have to bring the RPMs up, that staging last can be an advantage. Let's see what happens here. Who will go in, brake first, and turn on both those little yellow lights on top of the tree? There's Warren Johnson, a little fidgeting around there, making sure the car's in low gear, got a good grip on the wheel. In the far lane is the Camaro. That is Darrell Alderman, and only one car will go to the final round. The other goes back in the trailer. They are both pre-staged. Nobody's moving, Don.
No car wants to go in. They just want to sit there revving up their engine. The starter will get nervous. He'll want to force them in because nobody wants to give up that advantage of staging last.
And these are not like the fuel cars. A little bit of heat buildup here isn't going to hurt them. There's the starter indicating they better get in there. And they have the races on. Darrell Alderman just drilled Warren Johnson on the starting line. It is Darrell Alderman, a 7:59 beats a losing 7:53. Warren Johnson will be kicking himself.
Well, Warren Johnson was totally asleep when the light came on. Alderman nailed the throttle and disappeared. So Alderman moves into the final round. And he will face the winner of this matchup between Bob Glidden and Butch Leal. Now, remember, Glidden working for an unprecedented 8th U.S. Nationals victory. He certainly knows how to win this particular event. On the other hand, Butch Leal has never won here, so he certainly has a tremendous incentive to win. Let's go to Steve.
Well, Darrell Alderman is slowly but surely, I think, stealing Butch Leal's title as the king of the hole shot in this class. You ran 59 to his 53. You got the light.
Yeah, I just had the brakes, I guess, Steve.
What was going on up there? Nobody seemed to want to stage.
Well, you know, you go up and you decide to stage first or stage last, and I'm sure Warren decided to do the same thing.
So both guys wanting to stage last is what we're looking at?
Yes.
What breaks you?
I don't know.
Buster Couch, the starter?
Buster, yes. He can break you quick.
Okay, very good job. Beautiful driving.
Well, Wayne County prepared the car good. That's the main thing.
It has been quick. Going into the final round, Darrell Alderman.
Don Garlitz said so many times before, the key in Pro Stock is whoever gets the hole shot, who gets away first.
That's exactly right. You've got a whole field of 16 cars separated by 1/10 of a second. It's a hole shot game.
Well, Buster Couch, the chief starter at all these races, he can play those games too. Sometimes if there's a long staging war, they'll move in. He'll give them a long light, and both drivers will sit there with those RPMs up, and occasionally one will red light. So you take a chance of Buster maybe taking you on when you play those games.
That's exactly right. The wrath of Buster Couch, the starter.
So we'll see who wins this battle, Leal, Glidden, or the starter. Butch Leal, fantastic at leaving. Bob Glidden, incredibly consistent. Glidden in the near lane, Leal in the far lane. As finally Glidden inches up, immediately Leal comes as well. Leal pulls the front end off the ground while Glidden drifts over to the center line. They're even at the halfway point. Now Glidden pours on the power, and Bob Glidden goes into the final round. Glidden with a 7:58.188. Butch Leal with a 7:68.183. Don Garlitz, good, evenly matched race.
Yes, it was. And Butch Leal, who usually gets the hole shot, didn't get it this time. Bob Glidden, up to a very fine performance, took off from the start and never gave an inch.
But as they both left the line, Don, both of them were really out of control.
Oh, yes. Bob Glidden moved almost on the center line. You can see the mark, so within about 6 inches. But he pulled it back into control and went on for the win.
Once he got it pointed straight, he nailed the power, and Bob Glidden moved into the finals in a possible 8th U.S. Nationals victory. Glidden has the lane choice over Darrell Alderman by 1/100. Let's go to Steve Evans.
Bob Glidden got out of the car saying, I took the wrong lane. What happened?
Sure did. Well, we had a lot of wheel hop and spun, shook, got a little crossed up. I wasn't sure we didn't cross the center line at one point.
Well, only by 100th or so do you have lane choice over your opponent in the final, Darrell Alderman.
It surprises me that we'd even have lane choice, Steve, the one we made. I don't know.
58, 758.
758, and I think Darrell went a 59.
You watch those scoreboards, too.
Well, I'll tell you, the competition, you know how it is.
Can you believe you're going into your 11th final round in a row, consecutive here at Indy?
I believe it. I know it. We worked especially hard for this race, Steve.
Where's this crowd behind you?
We've got great fans, especially here, but everywhere.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
The amazing consistency of the man from Whiteland, Indiana, his shop not 20 miles from here as he goes into the final round. In the meantime, back in the pit area, Kenny Bernstein's crew, Dale Armstrong and the boys go to work on his machine as they prepare for their final round matchup with Mike Dunn. And we'll be back with the final rounds in a Raceway Park. This is Paul Page with Steve Evans and Don Garlitz for the NHRA US Nationals. And there's trouble with Kenny Bernstein. Let's go to Steve Evans.
There is a cavity between the frame rails of Kenny Bernstein's funny car. 40 minutes into what they thought was routine maintenance, a problem has been discovered with this engine. It's the idler in the gear drive at the front of the motor. They're having to change engines. Now, Dale Armstrong and crew do not believe in trying to use complete motors with blower injectors and fuel system. They prefer to strip all the parts, exterior parts, off the existing engine. Well, that takes an awful lot of time. They are really up against it here. Had they found this problem when they first got back to the pits, well, it wouldn't be that big a deal. It is a tremendous task for them to get a new motor in this car with the time available to them. If they pull this off, they are indeed the best in drag racing.
There's definitely a full-bore thrash underway in the Bernstein pit. In the meantime, it's the finals of Pro Stock. Bob Glidden ready to take on Darrell Alderman. But Don Garlitz, you've had exactly the same problem Bernstein has now. How much trouble is he in?
He's in very serious trouble because they've got to get this race over with. They could run without Bernstein. That same problem put me out in Phoenix a couple of years ago.
Well, in addition to the fact that the final is coming up in Funny Car, there is also the threat of rain. And NHRA will want to get this event completed before that rain hits Indianapolis Raceway Park. Back to this final round, Pro Stock. There is Darrell Alderman. He would love to see a victory light at the end of this run. In the near lane, Bob Glidden, looking for an 8th World Championship, looking for an 8th U.S. Nationals title. Don, are we looking at another staging battle here?
We could well be because Darrell Alderman, he's got nothing to lose. Glidden is the fastest car, the quickest car in this race, so he wants to do everything that he can to put the hurt on him.
Of course, Bob Glidden has been in this position so many times before. Does it maybe not affect him at all?
I don't think it does. I think Bob is extra cool.
They come off the line even. Glidden on the near side, Alderman the far side. They're even at the halfway point. Now Glidden pulls ahead and edges him out at the line. Bob Glidden has done it. An 8th U.S. Nationals title for Bob Glidden. Look at Etta and the crew. Boy, are they happy with that one. Bob Glidden with a 743, 188 to Alderman's losing 752, 189. Big Daddy, let's look at it again.
Now we can see Darrell Alderman made a fine move off the starting line, but Bob Glidden had the tremendous power of that Thunderbird, and he passed him just shortly out about 300 feet and went on down to victory.
Well, with the Gliddens, it's a family affair of racing. Wife Etta, sons Rusty and Billy, they all work together on the car, and of course, they win together. Let's go to the far end and Steve Evans.
Well, Darrell Alderman gave it everything he had, but the Chevrolet was no match for this Thunderbird. Bob Glidden, that's 8 U.S. Nationals titles.
That's right, Steve. The Thunderbird was thundering today for sure. I'll tell you. I know how I feel. Ed and the kids have got to feel great right now. Darrell did give us a good race until neck to neck till half track. Damn, I'm telling you.
This was a little tougher race for you than it might have looked like from the grandstands.
Well, yes. The prior round we had wheel hop really bad. Got crossed up, nearly hit Butch. We had no idea what was going to happen. We kind of threw the dice. We told Darrell we were going to take the right lane, and then, well, we decided we'd take the left lane, so I guess the boys made the right decision again.
Terrific job. Congratulations.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
Don?
Nothing to be ashamed of. You didn't win, but you certainly made a fine showing.
Yeah, well, we're proud of it. Wayne County's worked hard to get this car down the track and make power, and I'm just tickled for them.
Well, there's got to be winners and losers, but today you're a winner.
Yeah, I feel like we are. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Darrell can be proud. He was a worthy opponent, but the win went to Bob Glidden. Who will win in funny car? They've got the blower back on in Kenny Bernstein's pit area, but obviously they are still thrashing. And the call has gone out to bring the cars to the Nationals, and this is in Kenny Bernstein's pit area, where they have just fired the engine. Now, they're running a test to make sure that this engine is ready to go, but we're ready for Top Fuel.
For the past 3 years, it's been this man, Don Garlits, whom I've interviewed as the winner of Top Fuel. Big Daddy, who do you think we'll interview this time?
Well, I kind of think you're going to interview Joe Amato. LaHaye is pretty cagey, but he ran 100th slower than Joe did. And I think that Joe will step his car up just a little bit. I'm a little afraid that Dick is going to smoke the tires trying to make a better, quicker ET.
Well, you know, this is a tremendous break in the 33-year tradition of the U.S. Nationals. Normally, Top Fuel would be the final round. But apparently they've decided to give Kenny Bernstein an extra few minutes. We're threatened by weather now, the possibility of rain. So we're going to roll with the final round of Top Fuel before Funny Car. And you're watching as Dick LaHaye and Joe Amato move to the line.
And let's point out that running Top Fuel first in no way inconvenienced these two drivers. They were in the lanes, pacing around nervously. They want to get this one over with. It's the biggest of the year for both of them.
One tremendous confrontation between two men. This man, Joe Amato, and Dick LaHaye, they have been locked in battle throughout the entire season. And neither of these two men has ever won the U.S. Nationals.
What would it mean to Joe Amato to win his first ever U.S. Nationals in Top Fuel?
Well, Steve, to win the Nationals, the big one of all time, and hopefully set the speed record and back it up in the final, that'll be a storybook ending and a dream come true. I don't know if I could take it.
It's probably the most important race of my whole career. You know, this is the grandfather of all drag racing, and it's the biggest drag race of the year. And to win this would just be astounding. I mean, I would probably be lost for words, to be truthful with you, and we'll have to wait and see what happens at the other end.
Well, there you have Dick LaHaye's indication of just how important this event is. Don Garlits, it really is special for these Top Fuel drivers especially.
I can vouch for that personally. I've been in this position 8 times, and it's just great. It's a Cinderella storybook ending. They both were telling it like it was.
How much additional pressure because of the event itself?
Like, well, you could see when the shot of Dick earlier with his hands, he was just gripping his hands together in the cockpit. He was just trying to calm himself for this event.
So it's Dick LaHaye in the near lane, Joe Amato in the far lane. Both begin to inch up now into the staging lights. The final round, Top Fuel Eliminator, the 33rd U.S. Nationals. Both of them move forward ever so slowly. The light goes green. They come off the line fairly even. LaHaye wavers the front end just a bit, but Amato takes it all the way for the win. Joe Amato with a 5:26.279 to a losing 5:25.274. And Joe Amato wins his first U.S. Nationals. Don, let's look at it again.
Paul, we've been talking about reaction time this entire race. You're going to see right there, Joe wins the race by leaving first. LaHaye actually had a better ET and should have won, but Joe, virtue of that leave, has won the race.
Joe Amato had the best leave of any driver in Top Fuel.
The driver won this one. He ran 100th quicker and you beat him.
Well, Steve told me it was going to... Steve, I'll be okay, Steve.
That's okay.
I'm not excited or nothing. God, the U.S. Nationals. Tim told me it was going to be real tight, he said, but you're going to have to weld them to the tree. You know, we've been driving real good all day, and I've been just concentrating a real lot on the tree. And I've been getting real good lights. And, you know, I've gotten my eyes picked out the last race, so I came here with the idea that I know I was going to have to do real good. And thank God they gave me enough power to do it.
You know, nothing I could tell you would spoil this moment, but you missed the record by 1/10 of a mile an hour.
God, Steve, I wish we polished the car before. 1/10. Well, that's okay. We'll get it at the Motorplex. I'm not, you know, wanted to win the Nationals. We wanted to get the points lead. You know, we wanted to do good for our sponsors, TRW, Mr. Gaskett, Hearst. You know, there's a lot of people here. The U.S. Nationals, You know, the winter time, everybody remembers who won the U.S. Nationals.
Right.
You know, the World Championship, this helps us on the points, too. So, you know, Tim Richards and my wife and the crew, they did an outstanding job.
No one who saw it will ever forget 282 miles an hour. Thank you for that.
And we'll be back with the 282. Man, we didn't back the record up, but it'll happen before the year's out.
Joe Amato, what a happy man.
Amato trying to back the record up. That is run within 1% of that 282, so it would go into the books as an official record. But Joe Amato, nonetheless, is the U.S. Nationals top fuel champion. There, the congratulations from Dick LaHaye.
You have no idea what it's like to be in Amato's shoes right now. It's one of the most fantastic feelings in the world to win the U.S. Nationals. I mean, you're just bubbling over with joy, and you can't get to your crew chief, your wife, fast enough, your crew members. It's just a wonderful feeling.
One man yet to feel that kind of joy. Will it be Mike Dunn or Kenny Bernstein?
Well, Paul, both drivers know what that feeling is like. Mike Dunn, of course, won it last year, looking to make it 2 in a row. And back in 1983, it was Bernstein winning both the Big Bud Chillip and the U.S. Nationals title. Right now on that starting line is a nervous crew for Kenny Bernstein, Don Garlett, wondering if there's anything that's going to go wrong. Remember, that engine was built in a matter of moments.
Let me tell you, that crew isn't the only one that's nervous. Kenny Bernstein is plenty nervous right now. He's inside that thing. If one hose or one bolt has been left loose, he could be a dead man if the sequence was wrong. So he's thinking about it. Did everybody do their job under that tremendous pressure that they were under correctly?
And the challenge to the crew of the Joe Paisano machine was to get that car to leave the starting line. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. That's the only weak link in that car. The speed indicates it's got all the power it needs.
That's exactly right. They have got to get it off the line, and they've got to get it off the line first because they have not been getting the good ETs that Kenny Bernstein has been getting all day long.
Bernstein the near lane. Mike Dunn the far lane. Bernstein's engine only has to last 5 seconds, but will it hold? Dunn's traction goes up in smoke, and Kenny Bernstein has done it. Kenny Bernstein wins funny car for the U.S. Nationals, and with it, the World Championship. Look at the celebration around with Kenny Bernstein's crew. They congratulate Dale Armstrong. They should congratulate themselves. They got the engine working.
And as you can see there, they stepped up Mike Dunn's car just a little too much. It smokes the tires and leans out. Well, Bernstein's car powers on down the track to victory.
And proving once again in racing that no one ever does it alone. The crew made a difference.
There's not another crew in drag racing that could have put this man on the starting line with the troubles between rounds. Can you believe you're even here?
No, it's hard. And you said it. The crew, Dale Armstrong, Mike Wood, Jim Mayle, Charlie Nielsen, and Darrell Gwynn's crew, and all our friends.
Tom McEwen was in there.
Goose, the Coors Goose come in there and helped everybody. We couldn't do it without them, I'll tell you. And Budweiser, Quaker State, and Buick.
And a 553. I mean, they just came right back with a bare short block motor.
Well, they did. Dale does it that way. That's the way he has them prepared because he changes the combination so much. But you never worry if you don't run out of time. But they put on the kangaroo shoes and ran hard on that one, Steve.
Indeed. Kenny Bernstein, U.S. Nationals champion again.
Great. It's a great one, I tell you. There's nothing better than the U.S. Nationals. Nothing.
That says it all.
So congratulations to our new champions, Kenny Bernstein, Joe Amato, and Bob Glidden. And a special thanks to that grand champion, Don Garlitz, for being part of our crew here today. Paul Page for Steve Evans, so long from Indianapolis.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by the Style Auto World Championship Team, the nation's premier source of fast lane fashions. Style Auto, the champion's choice for the style of your life. The American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.